A few days ago, the impossible happened. 19-year-old Jamie Neale walked out of the bush safe and surprisingly well. Surprising because he'd been lost in the Blue Mountains for almost 2 weeks. Everyone had given up. Even his family had said their last goodbyes. There's no doubt Jamie was hopelessly unprepared. You can sure believe him when he says that he might be smart, but he's got no common sense. It's an incredible tale, too good to be true, according to the cynics. So what really happened? Well, here's Jamie's own story, and you can decide for yourselves. Great survivor or great pretender? They're one of the great sights, the Blue Mountains west of Sydney. Their majesty is breathtaking, but it's their ruggedness that should inspire respect. As inviting as this spectacular landscape is, you enter it at your peril. What's it like to be back?
It feels a bit weird.
A bit weird? The last time Jamie Neale, a 19-year-old from North London, took this path, he didn't come back for 12 days.
And this is what you were doing, you're just bashing through the bush, really?
For the first few days, yeah, just bashing through.
It's not until you walk in his footsteps that you realise how easy it is to get lost here.
This is ridiculous, Jamie.
Yeah.
That's what it was like.
It's worse, but yeah.
It was worse, yeah.
Losing the walking trail, Jamie spent days and days fighting his way through all but impenetrable wilderness, desperate to find a way out.
Vines have got you again.
Yeah.
Oh.
Still got See this?
Oh. Oh, David. Here you go. You right? Come on, give me a hand.
I'm not a particularly religious person, but I started thinking about God, and I was praying and saying, like, surely you can, move a helicopter an inch and find me. And they said, why won't you just help me, and things like that.
Were you prepared to die there and then?
I was thinking I might die on that mountain, and just thinking about all the people, all my friends, the people I was working with, my family, wondering if I was going to see them, hear their voices again.
Hi, Jamie. Tara Brown.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. How you going?
I'm good, thanks.
Never been better?
Yeah, I'm on top of the world at the moment.
Are you?
Yeah.
2 days ago, I met Jamie for the first time. First impressions, what a lucky bloke he is.
No plans for any more bushwalking?
Not really.
Not in that area, okay?
Yeah.
Not by yourself?
Alive, considerably lighter, and mightily embarrassed.
Your story has been described as a great tale of survival, but also a great tale of stupidity. Is that a fair cop?
Yeah, I admit I've been a total idiot, and in the UK, you walk for a day, you'd end up in a pub. But out here, you can get lost so easily in that, and I think you should just respect the fact and be more prepared and think about what you're doing a lot more.
This grainy image captures the newly arrived backpacker setting out on his adventure, a 10-hour bushwalk. Jamie had remembered to pack 2 bread rolls and a small bottle of water. He'd forgotten his mobile phone or to tell anyone where he was going, and he was only wearing light clothing. This trek had disaster written all over it.
A lot of the people I know say I'm an incredibly smart person with no common sense.
I mean, you say you're a smart bloke, and I have nothing to doubt that, except that you go into this rugged landscape. You don't tell people exactly where you're going. You certainly don't register with the police. You don't take an emergency beacon with you, and you really don't take a proper amount of supplies.
I had overconfidence, and I just didn't respect the seriousness of the situation, and I made mistakes.
Jamie's biggest mistake was to take the wrong path. It was on dusk, he'd lost his bearings. Thinking he was heading back to town, he in fact was walking in the opposite direction.
So at what point did you start to panic?
It was on the second day, that's when it really struck me that I'm in the wrong side of the valley. I've been walking for, about a day and a half in the wrong direction and that. And then that's when I'm thinking, well, I've got to head back in this direction, and that's when I started to think I'm in trouble.
Because Jamie had failed to tell anyone of where he was going, there was no search for 4 days. Imagine his fear during that time. Imagine too the sheer relief of hearing rescue choppers.
I just started seeing the helicopters, and that I was convinced they were out searching for me and not someone else.
And what did you do to attract their attention?
I basically tried to climb out on these rocky outcliff things, and I had a bright blue shirt which I tied, and I was trying to wave, and I was shouting out trying to get their attention.
But it was all for nothing. What Jamie didn't know was that he was a needle in a haystack. The choppers just couldn't see him, including the one with his father on board.
Come on, Jamie. Where the hell are you?
Richard Cass had flown out from England to find his son, who had now been missing for 7 days.
Seen those cliffs. I'd been up in a chopper, I'd looked down on those cliffs and they terrified me. I thought, he's been wandering about in the darks and he's fallen down a cliff and smashed his brains out, and we'll never see him again. We'll never even get a body, I thought.
Defeated by the harsh Australian bush, Richard didn't even wait for the search to be called off. He chiselled a memorial to his son along the path Jamie had walked.
I couldn't leave Australia without some sort of closure. You know, I'd have to spend the rest of my life thinking about my lost son. But without a funeral, I felt I had to do something to say goodbye.
But what was the emotion as you were doing that?
It was very intense. I spoke a few words, not prayer as such to God or anything, but, you know, to Jamie, saying, I'm sorry we haven't found you, we'll never forget you, that sort of thing. And, you know, it's such a waste that you came out here and lost your life. You had so much ahead of you.
I'd be shouting out help, I'm here, and a few times when they'd left, I'd be screaming, I'm still alive. When I could see,
While his father thought he was dead, Jamie was busy trying to survive. He might have been stupid getting into this dangerous mess, but now he was being incredibly sensible. He built a shelter, drank lots of water, and resorted to bush tucker. He was now 9 days missing.
What do they taste like?
They taste like a nut.
I'll give it a go if you give it a go.
Yeah.
It's okay, it's a bit bitter.
I just took a risk and ate them. Now, some people said, I didn't know they're not poisonous, but you didn't, but you just took the risk.
I don't know the current temperature, but man oh man, it's cold, and clearly I'm pretty rugged up. During the time Jamie was lost, the overnight temperatures were around the 1-2 degree mark, never more than 5 degrees, and even during the day it never got more than 13 degrees. At times Jamie was also soaking wet. Add to the cold the complete isolation and the loneliness of his ordeal, and it's hard to imagine how this 19-year-old got through one night out here, let alone nearly 2 weeks. I know you're a tough Northern Hemisphere bloke, but how cold did it get out there?
It got really, really cold. My feet were burning. That was the thing. I was having to move and just trying to move my toes, because I was scared I might get something like trench foot or gangrene. And then it was also where it was moist and thing. I kept getting attacked by the leeches in that night.
When you got to your lowest point, what did you think was going to happen to you?
The lowest thing I thought was going to happen would be that I would starve to death, which is something I really didn't want to happen.
Were you terrified?
That is something that did terrify me. I didn't want a long drawn out thing, and that did terrify me.
400 people, mainly volunteers, scoured the scrub for Jamie. Even as the chances of finding him alive diminished, the searchers, led by Sergeant Ian Collis, just kept going.
Did you really think you'd find him?
It was getting slimmer by the day, that's obvious, you know.
Yeah.
But, you know, even I think if we'd come to that realisation, we probably still would have been out here anyway. Because there's still things to be done even if we don't think he's alive.
But after 12 days, Jamie stumbled into a couple of campers who helped him walk out of the bush. In total, he'd trekked over 60 kilometres, but in the end was only a couple of k's from his setting off point. His first call was to his mum, back in England.
I didn't know what to say, and I just wanted to hear her voice, and I didn't know the words to say. We were just crying down the phone for about 20 minutes, hearing each other sob. I couldn't speak. All I could do was just listen to their voices, which was great. Actually be able to hear people that I've never thought I can hear again.
What was that moment like when you saw your son again?
It was fantastic. You know, I had literally given him up for dead. He'd changed, his eyes were so starey, like a train was coming down at him, but it was still my boy, and that was fantastic.
So what, you could see an impact on him?
Oh yes, definitely. He had a sort of cheeky glint in his eye 3 weeks ago, but when he come back, you could see he'd been to hell and back.
But not everyone is convinced. Such was Jamie's endurance against the odds. People started to question whether he was in the bush at all, that his claims are a hoax and he's a fake.
I know what's happened, and I know the people who were out searching for me, and that they know that it happened, and that's good enough for me. People say what they want because I'm not lying, it's the truth.
So you didn't go off somewhere and have a little nice holiday while family, friends and complete strangers were worried about you, searching for you?
I was genuinely lost, and I think it's unfair to, discredit this.
And you were genuinely lost for that amount of time,
Yeah.
and with so little clothing and with no food.
Yeah, generally the story's true. Some people say it's a hoax. I, can't stop them.
But does it speak to how incredible they think your story is? That they think it's impossible for you to have survived?
Well, I think you do have these impossible stories that do happen, and I've luckily become one of them.
So there's no question in my mind now that it's genuine. I've got no reason to doubt him whatsoever.
So what do you say to those doubters then?
Well, maybe they should try and spend 12 days out in Cedar Valley without too much comfort. This land formation here is Mount Solitary.
For all the frustration and ill-prepared Jamie caused, Sergeant Collis is impressed by this 19-year-old's mental and physical ability to survive.
So instead of attacking him, perhaps celebrate how remarkable he is?
I think so. In the future, when people might start saying it's beyond hope, we can say, well, remember Jamie Neale.
Okay, let me have a quick listen to your chest again. Okay. Jamie, just
The staff at the Blue Mountains Hospital is in no doubt that while Jamie survived, he also suffered. His blood tests show signs of malnutrition.
Originally it was in a lot better condition, but as time
And
gone
his
on,
clothes from 2 weeks in the
my
wilderness
t-shirt.
have to be
Stop wearing
smelt to be believed.
it.
And you know what? It does sting,
Yeah,
doesn't it?
I've just noticed there, it's a big clump of blood on the back.
And do you know what that's from?
I don't know where that one's come from.
They bear all the marks of the physical challenges Jamie
I will
faced.
most of the time.
So, thank you, Australia. Thank you guys specifically. I'm so grateful to what happened here. So grateful to Australia.
Perhaps
so
those who best know what Jamie went through in that valley are those who took on the bush to save him.
Cheers.
It's the old Australian spirit of help your mates out.
But Jamie's not a mate, you don't know him.
But he's a mate now. Everyone's talking to him now and shaking his hand and saying it's great to see you. So he's a mate now.
I cried when I heard you were found, mate, so I just want to shake your hand, mate.
Thank you for taking time searching.
These volunteers, these mountain men and women, are a tough bunch. But they think the legend in the room is a young kid from London who survived conditions most of us couldn't.
I survived. I want to go out and do more. I don't want to waste it. It's really touching to know that sometimes half the world were, looking for me, wondering, and it is a nice feeling.
I don't know if you can see along the ridges there, there's a kind of ledge about halfway down where there's a bit of
Jamie is planning to stay in Australia for another few weeks, but yesterday Richard said goodbye to his son once more as he returned to the UK.
It's so vast here.
But not before he gave him a warning or two about going bush again.
I love him to bits, and I'm so glad to see him again, but, Jamie, please don't, use your brain next time.
That's pretty much the reaction that I've gotten from almost everyone I know. Half the people are saying, we're going to beat the crap out of you, you're going to beat you up as soon as you get home, you're an idiot, we hate you. And then the other half, but we're going to buy you a drink, we'd love to see you again. No, which has been great.
Hello, I'm Tom Steinfort. Thank you for watching 60 Minutes Australia. Subscribe to our channel now for brand new stories and exclusive clips every week. And don't miss out on our extra minutes segments and full episodes of 60 Minutes, which are on 9now.com.au and the 9Now app.